Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us here on the Malk Talk podcast. We're on episode 2, and today I have with me my guest, Shawn. And we're here to talk about his. Oh, say hey, Shawn. I'm sorry.
What's up, everyone?
All right, we're here to talk about his favorite markout moments from AEW, WWE, and WCW. All right, let's get into it. Your first markout moment.
All right. That would have to be Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers. Always a timeless classic whenever those two teams come together in a ring, pull out some phenomenal moves. You can expect Nick and Matt, especially Nick, to do some high-flying stuff. Always amazing to see Phoenix, master of the ropes, his older brother Penta, phenomenal athletes, especially on pay-per-views. When those two are in the ring together during pay-per-views, you can bet that everything is laid out on the table and left in that ring.
Yes, it's a highlight reel every time they step in the ring. I love Penta and Phoenix, but the Young Bucks, they are great. They are terrific. I followed them when they were in AEW when they formed the Elite. I mean, not AEW, I'm sorry. New Japan when they formed the Elite and started doing the Being the Elite series on YouTube. Shout out to them on YouTube, Being the Elite. Go check them out. I followed them for a while, and Kenny Omega as well. But as far as the Young Bucks as a team, they got that chemistry because they're brothers, same as the Lucha Brothers, because they're actually brothers too. So that came very natural for both teams because they knew each other so well. And then once they formed that team to form that rivalry, and they came together and fought, it was perfect. It was just well executed. Right. High flying moves. It was great.
Exactly. Especially because anyone who follows the Young Bucks and, the Lucha Brothers stories before they became, AEW superstars, you can see, the Young Bucks matches with like the Hardy brothers, like the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. They pulled out some iconic moves, both teams, but in the end, it was, that brotherly bond that each team knew. They said, hey, I've grown up with you. I've been in the ring with you. You're like my brother. I know what you're going to do, and I can follow up on that. So not a lot of tag teams have that kind of, that bond. There are a few out there, but none like the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers like that.
Yeah, that's the difference between brother tag teams. They grow up together. They spend all this time together. They love the sport of professional wrestling. They get in there and they do what they got to do, and they learn from a young age. And that young age, learning carries over to when they get older and when they actually go and actually start wrestling. Jeff Hardy, who made his debut when he was 16, which Vince didn't know at the time, but he did it. And he's been wrestling for I think about 30 years almost at this point. Almost 30 years. Yeah.
Right. So, even though, Matt and Jeff are in different companies, you can still see, both Hardy brothers still tearing it up in their own ways. Matt has that more ground and pound offense style, while Jeff does the high flying and, abilities. But you can see when Jeff and Matt separate, they still kind of implement some of the Hardy Boys tag team moves into whoever they're tagging with.
Yep, I can see that. I see what you're talking about there. Jeff Hardy is recently, let's talk about this because it's a bit topic. I talked about it. I talked about it in other podcasts, episode 1 of Malk Talk. Jeff Hardy's No More Words. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, growing up, so little fun fact about anyone who doesn't know me. I grew up watching Matt and Jeff, from the from the Attitude Era. The first ladder match they had with Edge, Christian, and the Dudleys, WrestleMania 2000. That was a phenomenal match. That was phenomenal. Now, going on to when, the Hardys, separated, took a break from each other, Jeff had his, starting up his single career. Matt was starting his. Jeff was, on the bit of like a downward spiral in the early 2000s, but he got up there, in like late 2006 when he faced Johnny Knight, John Morrison, won the IC title from him back then, and then winning his first WWE championship at Armageddon, which was, for me, it was a phenomenal moment. It was something that I finally, he deserved it after everything he's been through.
Yeah, that was a markout moment for sure.
Right. And then, being at the Thunderdome, Jeff even has said, like, at the, interview on WWE's YouTube channel, check them out, happily anytime. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to them already. But Jeff said it's not the same without, the fans actually being there. You see their faces, and you hear them, but like them being in the actual arena, so you can, channel that is a different story. And then when, the fans were actually let back into the actual arena and no more words played, I was watching Raw that night. And then it just took me back to the early, 2009 to 2008, when that played and you saw Jeff come out, it was just phenomenal.
It was
jumped out my seat.
AJ Styles phenomenal. But not seriously, it was phenomenal. I enjoyed it. Jeff Hardy has been one of my favorite wrestlers for a very long time, as far as I can remember.
Right.
He deserved. He overcame his demons. He's still working with them. He says it every day. A lot of us in the world are working, through our demons, but he has overcome. Right. He has daughter, and he, wants to be around for her. And I really appreciate him sticking to it and believing in himself to where he's not, out here doing those things anymore. He's focusing on his career and bettering himself, and outside the ring, and is trying to build back his status as a WWE champion, which, I mean, I would love to see him be a champion.
Exactly. Have a repeat of 2000, Armageddon, him going after, I don't know who, you got Bobby Lashley, him going against Lashley, beating Lashley for the championship, or whoever is the champion down the road.
Yeah. See, that is he expressed that recently. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be a WWE champion again. He knows he can do it. And he's in his 40s, but still he knows he can do it. And once you put your mind to something, you set a goal for yourself, you can get there. That's all you need is a goal, and you set that, and you have your mindset straight, and you get there.
Exactly.
So the AEW, is a young company. What are your thoughts on Vince's comment about AEW not being a competitor to WWE?
To be honest, that it's like an old saying. You have someone that's been with the company for years, and then a new guy comes in and he's like, oh, well, you're not really my competitor. I don't look at you as one. But as the old saying goes, you underestimate someone, they will get to your level, and then they will surpass you at some point. And the comment that Vince made, with all due respect to the chairman, love Vince, big fan of the industry, but AEW has proven itself from the time Cody announced it with Kenny, Young Bucks, and everyone else there at the conference.
Yeah,
AEW has proven itself time and time again that it is and is soon will be a rival to WWE, and even take it. We might see another Monday Night War scenario with like WCW and then WWE, but on different nights. So sooner or later, AEW is going to catch up with them.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Rampage is coming this fall, and I think it's going to be premiering on Fridays. So it's going to be in direct competition with WWE Friday Night SmackDown. So, I mean, for him to say that it's not competition, do you want people to watch your product, which, some people say is watered down and they need to focus more on younger talent? Or would you want to watch the company that's focusing on younger talent, but also bringing in these legends to mentor people and build them up instead of pushing them to the moon like they just started?
Correct. Like, for example, Dominic Mysterio, young talent, son of Rey Mysterio, phenomenal athlete. Gray has said it himself. If you look at the YouTube video that talked about Friday Night SmackDown, actually before the doors opened, from fans coming in and whatnot, everyone welcoming everyone back. Dominic, Ray said himself, he kept asking Dominic if he was nervous and whatnot, and he's like, no. And Ray wanted to make sure he had Edge with him. But by the way, all respect to the Hall of Famer, rated R superstar. Glad to see him back in the ring, by the way, tearing it up like he never left. A couple new moves in the arsenal, which is awesome to see. But Edge said himself, he said, wherever Dominic looks, he has support from me or his father. We will be there for him.
Yep. I mean, that's what they need more of in the WWE. Support for the younger talent. I feel like morale for the WWE superstars has gone down with all these releases that's happening recently, but that is a perception that we are having outside looking in. I don't know how it is backstage, so we just have to wait and see how that turns out. But Vince saying that the AEW is not competition or direct competitor, It's just silly. So I don't know why he said that. But
Right.
we'll see where both companies at in 10 years. All right.
Right.
So the next topic is AEW. We already been talking about it, but we're gonna talk about your favorite markout moment for AEW.
Right. So, oh boy. All right.
I'm sorry, you already said AEW. That was my fault. I meant to say WWE. That was my fault. That was a mistake on my part. Go ahead. WWE markout moment.
All right. Well, I've, like I said, I've been a fan of since the late '90s. I've always followed Triple H's career. Phenomenal guy, inside and outside the ring. Just brings that energy. If any of you have seen Tough Enough, the old Tough Enough, when Triple H, Matt, Jeff, and Lita were there. That video where Triple H, the caption is Triple H punks out the whole Tough Enough cast. But it's honestly, it's something that, not a lot, young guys coming into business or professional wrestling don't know what, how big and how much sacrifice you put into becoming a professional wrestler. So for him to actually say, hey, I do this because I love it. And then for you guys that want to come in and just earn money and get women and whatnot, you're pissing on the legends that came before you. So, he's hard, he's stubborn, but he means well. And then the match that I want to bring up is WrestleMania 25, Triple H versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. That match was clearly personal. It's a lot of storytelling behind those two, especially they were in a group called Evolution together. Randy was the youngest world champion. He was in Evolution at that time. If anyone saw that episode of Raw where Batista held Randy up on his shoulders, Triple H gave him the thumbs up and then just said thumbs down.
Great heel turn.
Orton brought that up in the promo, leading up to the match. This was, he said, well, you didn't like it because I was the youngest world champ. I was the youngest to do it. And it led on to Randy, punting Vince in the head, punting Shane.
Great television.
It was just something that the fans liked, and it kind of, gave him a scare. And then the ultimate disrespect to Triple H would be RKOing his wife, Stephanie. Great person, by the way, too.
And you forgot.
And kissing her, while Triple H handcuffed the ropes and whatnot. And
that was great. The
insult to injury is just picking up the sledgehammer, Triple H standing up to meet Randy face to face, and then Randy just bashing him in the face with the sledgehammer. So then, afterwards,
I know where you're going.
Even when Triple H invaded Randy's house, like that got really personal because you mess with the old saying, you mess with a man's wife, you're going to regret it. Triple H made it very clear to Randy that he was going to regret it. He threw Randy out of his own living room window, and then Randy said, oh, I'm getting a restraining order against you. If you violate that, there will be no match, and you were stripped of the title. That was a stipulation. Even if he got disqualified, that was it. Randy was the new champ. So leading up to the match, you could see how, it
was eating Triple H. Yeah, it was eating him up alive, knowing that he couldn't do anything if he wanted that world championship.
Right. He couldn't really, give Randy his full dose of, punishment because, the ref reminded him, he said, hey, if you go over my 5 count, you will be stripped. And, that's it. End of the match. So Triple H had to hold back a little bit. There were times where Randy would, he's the Viper, Apex Predator, whatever he needed, just get the advantage. At the end, though, it was always, Triple H would come on top. Randy would try to, just do one too many dirty playbooks, and then that caused him to lose the match, via pedigree, which was awesome because it was a sense of justice for Triple H to keep the title, but also
his revenge.
Kind of just punish Randy.
Yeah. So I got a question. Triple H spoke about this in interviews and stuff. So do you think that match was dampered by any way, shape, or form due to the fact that it came on right after Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 25?
Not a lot, because you had both two members of D-Generation X, one after another. One had a match that clearly was personal. One was another where,
it was two
Shawn
legends going at it. Yeah.
Right, where Shawn said, "You can't beat me. You have never beaten me." And that took both matches were personal, and I don't believe either one was dampered because you had, a future legend in the making already. Well, Randy's already a legend in his own right, and then you had two members that started D-Generation X, along with Undertaker, who's been around since the very beginning
90s.
of the company.
Yeah. So I feel like as far as the matches itself, yeah, I agree with you. They were not dampened by any way, shape, or form. But when it comes to the crowd energy, the crowd atmosphere, I feel like they were drained. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like if it was early in the night that match happened, they would still have that energy. But when you have two legends like Shawn and Taker going at it, and they're doing false finish after false finish, hot spot after hot spot,
right,
it gets very, very draining.
Right, especially I think the crowd came live when Taker did his signature dive over the top ropes and Shawn pulled the cameraman in a way. That's when everyone was like, "Oh, that's like," you could hear the whole tone of the crowd just like, "Oh."
It was a great match, one of my favorite matches of all time. But yeah, I feel like that rivalry was a great markout moment for you. I feel like Triple H and Randy Orton have, like you said, that history to where it made it really personal, going way back to the early 2000s. And It was a very good match. It was a long story, which WWE doesn't do that often, tell long stories nowadays. But they need to go back to that formula because it worked. It worked, and it still works well for other companies too. So, what about Triple H as a character makes you mark out about him in general, like just him?
There's a lot of things. I want to go back to the early, the Attitude Era. Every wrestling fan knows the Attitude Era. Just him coming out, before he was mainly a heel for majority of the era.
Yeah.
So him coming out with his wife Stephanie, always telling the crowd, give him, some chance that WWE can't say anymore, because they either blur it out or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's more of like, he would, say, "I am the game. I am that damn good." He didn't really have to, he could just say that, but it all depends on his ring style because he has a little bit of Ric Flair, a little bit of Harley Race. He has a little bit of every legend in his playbook that he studied. And there was an interview in the Greatest Stars of the 90s DVD. That's an old DVD. If anyone has that, thumbs up to you. During, Triple H's segment in that movie, Stone Cold says he has, he's an actual student of the game. He studies everybody's, moveset and adds it and incorporates his own way into it.
Yeah.
So, 16-time world, 16-time champion. I mean, what more to say about the game himself?
Yeah, he is great. I really love the game and I really love Orton. So shout out to both of them. They're doing great still to this day. Behind the scenes, more so Triple H, but Orton still's doing his thing with Matt Riddle. That was great. I just love that.
Yeah.
That chemistry with them is great. But yeah, let's move on. Let's go to WCW.
All right. Now there are going to be a lot of WCW fans out there. I know you guys are out there. This was my all-time favorite match, mainly because, I didn't grow up with Sting when he was doing, his color persona. He started out, doing that. But yeah. I did, grow up in that time where he, took on that persona of the Crow. Anyone who's seen that movie, The Crow, phenomenal movie, by the way. Just, if you have a chance, go and watch it. Perfect. Hulk Hogan versus Sting, for the world title. That match was perfect. They haven't seen, there was vignettes of Sting, him in the rafters with the little crow, the crow, and it would freak Hogan out. And then they didn't know, he didn't know when Sting would have imposter Stings in the ring. It wasn't really him. So that the whole mind game mentality is a big part of the professional wrestling industry, especially how Hogan reacted to it. Because, at the end of the day, it's the story. You're telling it with your body, sometimes your words, but mainly your body. And for that,
your face, that's the key.
Your face, right? And the face,
expressions,
that's it. So when Sting actually came out the day before, they're like, okay, Hogan's like, this is a fake Sting and whatnot and everything else. But sure enough, he actually was, there was another vignette of him in the Raptors, but when Sting finally came out for that match at the main event, you heard the crow sound. So you knew who it was, kind of, but when you actually saw him walk out, and with the whole black, white scorpion on the attire, and then the face paint, black and white face paint, it's symbolic. Because I believe at that time Hogan was Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Another, great legend in the industry.
Great legend.
It's like business. Both Sting and Hogan. They had a lot of chemistry together back then during the WCW Monday Night Wars. Sting, coming out on top, winning that world title was like a signifying moment for him. He's like, hey, I still got it, is a different version of me, but I'm still the same old Stinger as I used to be.
He still moved the same. He didn't look the same, but he still moved the same.
Exactly.
But yeah, I've been a big fan of Sting. The last time on Mark Talk, we talked about, his whole debut. Well, not his debut, I'm sorry. His whole run as Sting when he became, the Crow version of Sting, and how great that was for him at the time for a character, especially with the Monday Night Wars going on. It was great for WCW as well.
And years later, he's still, in AEW now. Glad to see him back on TNT. Even Shivani said that when he first came out.
Yeah.
So now him and Darby Allin have something. I'm going back to when Sting and Darby actually had in the ring together talking to each other.
Yeah, it was great.
Sting said, "I see a young me in you."
That was great.
And it's something. Not a lot of legend. There's some companies out there. I'm going to take WWE example. You got a couple legends in the back that, will say, hey, I see the younger me in you. AEW, completely new, company, new baby. Yeah. But you have some of the legends like Sting, Paul White, you got Christian, Matt Hardy, Chris Jericho, John Moxley, you had Tully Blanchard even,
Dustin Rhodes,
right? Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes.
Exactly.
Shout out to the Rhodes family and the Blanchard family. Tessa Blanchard, Tully Blanchard's daughter. For you guys who don't know, phenomenal athlete. Go watch some of her matches in Impact. Great talent. You have a lot of mentors in AEW, especially Sting. So to add Sting and for him to say to Darby, I see a younger version of me and you, and I like it. You have the fire that I had. That's something that
motivates young talent. Yeah.
Right. It gives you, and you're out there with them. You have matches with them. They coach you during the matches, before the matches, even after the matches. So it makes a better version of you.
Exactly. You can't live out that, like Undertaker. He said recently, he tried to keep on that pro wrestling was his life. He tried to keep on holding on as long as he could, but his body wouldn't keep up with his urge to go on. So he had to retire. But at the same time, you've been an older star, and you're a superstar. You're a legend. You can go out there and mentor these younger talents and bring them bring them up to your status, so they can become legends one day. Recently, Undertaker said that well, not recently, it was last year, 2020, that he said that WWE should protect the Fiend character for Bray Wyatt because that's gold, and he thinks that it can go really far. Recently,
and I agree.
Recently, it's been released, so I mean, they're relying on people. They still have Goldberg employed. They still have, I know he's on a paid appearance, paid appearance, but he's still working there, you know what I'm saying? So I don't see and then you got other people like Eva Marie who's still there, but you tell us that it's for budget cuts. Like, it doesn't add up, you know what I'm saying? So I don't understand the whole reason behind that. I told everybody in the podcast yesterday that I think, like I said, Bray came up with this character. Bray even tweeted about how he mentioned this in the Wyatt promo 2 years before debuting the character. So, so yeah, it's crazy because Bray came up with all this, and it was such gold. The Funhouse match, the swamp match,
Right.
all
And
that was
then
great, and it's all from the mind of Bray. And I don't think Vince could accept that it was not him that came up with the idea, that he didn't
right,
get it over, and that, you know,
right,
essentially it wasn't
right,
him. He didn't
right,
birth that.
right, and especially um Sister Abigail being Alexa Bliss, putting Alexa Bliss into like
Oh
that mindset, that
yeah.
added. Don't get me wrong, Alexa Bliss is a phenomenal athlete, women's champ,
Yes, exactly.
but she needed, a gimmick change, in my opinion. So when Bray, said, oh, to Rand, said on the promo, a Firefly Funhouse episode, he's like, hey, sister, you're going to meet her pretty soon. And then, you had Randy, Randy was feuding with Bray at this time. So you have Alexa Bliss coming in,
Yeah.
whole new look, Bray saying that she's Sister Abigail, her bringing in her little spots and mixes to it, which
Them,
is phenomenal.
yeah, them together were great. But now it's just like she's trying to play this character that isn't no longer needed. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
As
right,
far
right,
it was birthed out of the Fiend character. The Fiend isn't there no more. Therefore, she's just stuck in limbo. I think that's my opinion about it. But
right,
you know,
right,
they need to come up with something else for her. I feel like,
right, right.
because that
Um,
she might start getting booed, because the crowd, WWE crowds can be ruthless sometimes.
yeah, they
So
change pretty quick,
yeah.
pretty frequently. The one thing about the Fiend that I liked, that Bray, this was also from the mind of Bray, was the Fiend Universal Championship, how that looked,
Oh, that was cool.
and even when he came out, for his first as the Fiend, first time ever, having Bray's head as the lantern, and everyone was
Oh,
freaked out.
I
Everyone
was
was
smiling.
freaked out.
I love horror movies. I love horror movies. So I mean, I was freaked out in a good way though, because it
Right,
was
right,
basically him saying that character is dead, and he's
right.
moved on to the Fiend character,
To
and it's great.
right. And then Bray put a lot into it. Comes in as Husky Harris, part of the Nexus.
Okay,
Then
we're gonna forget about
you
Husky
know
Harris. We're gonna do that for everybody out there, and for Bray himself. We're gonna forget about Husky.
yeah, for Bray, Bray. And then it comes back as Bray Wyatt. Has Luke
Great
Harper, Eric
character.
Rowan. Rest in peace. Luke Harper.
Yeah, rest in
Phenomenal.
peace.
Athlete. You had those two, and then Daniel Bryan being part of the Wyatt family for a little bit. Not that much, but for a little. Then Bray kind of kept that that persona on until he thought of something that completely got everyone's attention as soon as they saw him.
Yes, exactly. All eyes was on him, and that's what he wanted, and he got himself over in that way. And to have I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but the guy who the famous Hollywood Tom Savini.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Savini, to design your mask and your lantern, and it was just so perfect. And his character, it
Right.
fits his character so great. The look, everything, the promos, the Firefly Funhouse, the alternate. That's how he communicated. I mean, that was great. I love that part.
Exactly.
It was like a dark humor, and it was great, along with horror. So I think that was one of the best characters that WWE let go, which
Right. Yeah.
it's insane, but they did it.
Right. Like it's sad because you have such a and Bray Wyatt, for those who don't know, is the son of Hall of Famer IRS.
IRS
For those
man, yes
who
sir.
doesn't know, he's the son of that legend. If for those who don't know, IRS was a tag team with Ted DiBiase back then. But you have someone like that, second generation superstar, coming in, having his own ideas, pitching the idea of a new complete rework for his character, and takes it into something that's based out of a horror movie, from the regular side of him talking for the Fiend. And then the one line that no one ever forgets from the Fiend is "Let me in." When you
Yeah.
first heard that, you kind of knew something was something dark, some dark character was coming out from when you first heard that. And then when you hear the normal side of Bray say it, then you're like, okay, so something is going to happen here. And then you just see this mysterious character that comes out of nowhere, doesn't talk, you know, just has that evil looking aura.
Yeah, evil clown look. The whole theme was great. He had the circus pants, he had the long trench coat, he had the clown, basically a clown mask, but fitted in like horror movies.
Right,
basically.
Like Leatherface from Chainsaw Massacre. It was like that.
So you got that. It's too perfect for them to let that just slide. I don't understand why. I don't understand how they dropped the ball on that. I really don't. I don't get that. I try to get it, and I don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
Especially when he lost the title to Goldberg. Unfortunately, that it happened. It was a shame because
my God, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. Why?
He was
Oldberg needed to sit down and call AARP. All right, maybe break a hip or something. Give him a life alert. I don't know. He getting on my nerves.
All due respect, love Goldberg. But
I liked him when he was young and wrestled, not now, because he's very younger talent, and it's not cool. I don't like it, but good for him, I guess. He's employed.
Right, and like Goldberg, phenomenal athlete. He I can see him as the mentoring type, but you could have put him against someone else. You could have given Bray some other opponent, in my opinion, because he was a great champ and he held on to it like it was part of him.
He was proud of it. Yes, he was proud of it.
And then you take something away from that. You work really hard for to prove,
exactly.
And then you're given that chance to say, okay, you're going to win this championship, the prestige, the one that you've wanted since you were a child, and to have it taken away from you, and then off TV after the match, after he loses, he wasn't off TV. He lost to Randy, and then after that he was off TV for a while, which I'm like,
that doesn't make sense. Here? The fire is still burning. Why are y'all putting it out? Why?
Right. I'm like, why? What's happening here? But getting back to the point where Bray loses the title to Goldberg, which is, it was the match in itself. I didn't like the match personally. I think Bray was a phenomenal champion, but
I'm sorry, but this is another reason why I don't like Goldberg, because he's not that safe of a worker. I'm sorry, I'm throwing it out there. When you about break the Undertaker's neck, I can't be like, oh yeah, I love Goldberg. My favorite wrestler of all time, The Undertaker, who had a 30-year career, about broke his neck.
Right.
Like what?
And then if for anyone who's watched, the 24 episode with Undertaker talking about, how his body, the things he does to get his body in preparation for a match, this man goes through a lot just to get his body ready for a match. And it's unbelievable how, he's like, well, my body's not like, he even said like WrestleMania 27, Triple H, he faced Triple H. You can see the toll that, the damage that was done in that match to him. Triple H walked out, Taker was carried out.
And then had to go get surgery the next day.
Right.
Or was it the same day? I think he flew out that same day.
The same day, I believe.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of people say, oh, wrestling's fake. Yeah, it's scripted. It's not fake. They still do moves, but not as hard as they make it seem. But some of these high flying moves, some of these spots that they do is risking their well-being for your entertainment. Right. So I feel like people should respect wrestlers more because of that.
Right. Especially, I'm gonna do what Jeff did 2008 when he had a feud with Randy Orton. Randy punted Matt in the head. He brutally beat Matt backstage. Jeff took it to a whole new level. He took it personal. It's your older brother. Of course you're going to take it personal to that level. But for Jeff to jump off the scaffolding and onto Randy.
Oh, I remember watching that. I was like, what is this?
That in itself, it's another clear telltale sign of, people who say, it's fake, it's scripted, yes, but what Jeff did, that really,
that could have went south real quick. real quick.
Exactly. Even the back body drop to Randy off the stage could have went south because Randy, all you heard was a thud, and you didn't know what happened. Both men could have had their career shortened from what
Exactly.
it would have. So again, give credit to professional wrestlers.
Shout out to all professional wrestlers.
Even the
all
match
of
with
them.
even with John Moxley and Kenny Omega, the barbed wire death match, that in itself could have been career ending right there if someone did something wrong. And for those who watch the Facebook video, or even after the match, it's on YouTube somewhere. But John Moxley said Kenny Omega can't make a death match for shit, which was funny. But yeah, that was the whole ring surrounded in barbed wire, a lot of electricity going through that, and any moves that they made,
wrong, yeah,
that's it.
South, yeah.
And then John Moxley has a kid, so he can't really.
That one.
Yeah, exactly. Congrats to both of them, by the way.
Yeah, Renee, John, congrats.
But even that, when you have a family now, you really have to take into consideration of what you do and how, is it going to hurt? You have to do it. Sure, it's for your entertainment, but they also do it because they love it. It does. It helps the family. It supports their family. So any wrong move that they do could either be life-threatening or career-ending.
Exactly. They can be. So I need everybody to put some respect on their name. Everybody, please. All right, we're moving on to current product. That's what we're moving on to. So how is your thoughts on AEW's current product?
Oh boy, there's a lot, really. I love, for those who didn't watch Dynamite, I'm pretty sure a lot of you do.
Dynamite.
But for those who do, and like I said, a lot of you, I'm pretty sure you do. I loved the promo where Hangman was cutting a promo in front of everyone, and you had the elite come out. Matt and Nick still, rocking that fancy drip that they had. Then you had Carl Anderson and Luke and Big LG come out. Matt and Nick stepped into the ring first. Kind of ideal because the Young Bucks do it anyway in their own fashion. And then Kenny stepped in. The fact that Kenny kind of downplayed everything that Hangman did was phenomenal because we all know, if you watch them in New Japan and ROH, the history, that in the career that Hangman Adam Page has had, being with the Elite and being by himself without the Elite at ringside. So it's kind of, those two are brothers. Technically, they're not actual, but they've worked together, so they know each other's strengths. They were even tag team champions in AEW. So, of course, they know each other, how to push each other's buttons for entertainment. And then you have a sad thing, really, which was Cody, taking off his boots, leaving it in the ring, before he could, everyone's thinking Cody's retiring. After that, I'm like, no. Even myself, I said, Cody, no, come on, man.
Cody's not retiring. He got a lot left in the tank.
Right. And then for Malachi Black to come behind with your crutch and just whack him with it.
Oh my God! So was his debut was 2 weeks ago, correct?
Right.
Did you see the finish of that match?
I actually did not.
Oh man, when he hit it used to call Black Mask. I don't know what it's called now, but
right.
He hit the Black Mask and pinned him with his foot. I was like, whoa! They just letting Cody go out like that. I was surprised. That was very shocking. I knew they were gonna put him over and make him look like $1 million, but for him to do that to Cody,
of all people, one of the founding fathers of AEW, exactly. But going back to the point where you saw how he put his foot on Cody and pinned him, that reminds me of an old move Chris Jericho used to do in WWE. He would
with the pose, yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, that was like but it was for him. It wasn't like showboat, and it was more like nonchalant. Like he just
Right.
like
He
get him
just
out of
said,
here. Like I'm about to put my
right,
foot over him now. Yeah, I can end this match. So I can leave. Get him out.
right,
Like it
right,
was
right.
insane. It was insane. But what about WWE's current product?
Um,
I mean the wrestlers are still there.
uh,
Oh Lord.
don't. So one key highlight that I like that kind of everyone was, hoping for, which is blown up. Of course, you got Roman Reigns, Tribal Chief. The Tribal Chief gimmick's phenomenal. What people
Acknowledge me.
don't, some people who don't know Roman Reigns, when the Shield was introduced back then, all three of them were heels, but not as big as he is now. He has
Yeah.
the Acknowledge Me Tribal Chief when he faced one of his cousins, and clearly for the championship didn't want to do it. He's like, I won't acknowledge you. Finally, he tells everyone he faces, like, I'm the Tribal Chief, acknowledge me as this. I'm the head of the table. For those who don't know, Roman Reigns' new theme, Head of the Table, clear, perfect fit for this gimmick he has now. I've listened to it multiple times. Phenomenal. It signifies the Samoa, all his cousins and ancestors that came before him in the wrestling business. So for him to actually have this gimmick as the Tribal Chief, it kind of fits well for him holding the title too.
Yes.
Because now, if anyone didn't see SmackDown, there was a thing where Finn Balor, Finn and Roman had a promo, and then Roman pretty much said, I'm going to smash you and send you packing back to NXT. That in itself was
disrespectful. Roman disrespectful. Come on, Roman. But
right.
I have to say this. I gotta give a shout out to Roman Reigns. He has come a long way since his rivalry with John Cena in the War for Words. Oh my God!
Right.
John Cena wiped him with the floor. I mean, wiped him on the floor, wiped him on the wall, wiped him on the dirty seats that they left in the arena. I was like, dang, like what did he do to him?
Right. For those who don't know what we're talking what he's talking about is a promo with John Cena and Roman Reigns that they had when Kurt Angle was the GM of Raw at that time. It was completely unscripted, those parts. One part that I remember was Roman had, he forgot his lines. It happens.
I know what you're about to say.
It happens.
I know.
But it's more, John was like, it's a promo, kid. You're going to have to learn how to do it if you're going to be the big dog.
Whoa.
I just said,
like, shut up. He sounded like
Kurt's face.
Oh my God. Yes. Kurt's face. He was like,
he knew that wasn't supposed to be said, but it came out. And then another thing, I'm going to quote Roman on this, because I can't, give John all the credit. Shout out to John coming back to WWE, welcome back. But Roman said, he's a part-time and fake ass bitch. So for that, both of them had, that edge, and none of that was meant to be said. So everyone was kind of surprised.
Best part of that promo. Best part was, I'm still here because you can't do your job. That was Kurt's face. Go look at the video. It's on YouTube, unedited version. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. WWE's YouTube page. But
Kurt's face entirely.
I'm still here because you can't do your job. And then Kurt just like, he just said
Kurt's face knew.
Yeah, Kurt's he said it, Kurt.
Oh, he's like,
that was great.
That wasn't supposed to be said.
It wasn't supposed to be, but it was great that it was. But now Roman, that promo with Roman talking about missionary, the same thing every single night when he was talking about John Cena coming back with the same gimmick. Hilarious. I ain't gonna lie. He came a long, long way. I'm proud of Roman. I give him his props when props are due. Good job, Roman.
Right. For people who haven't, just started watching WWE, Roman, when the Shield first came, when you first debuted, Roman was always the silent type, and
Oh,
he would speak sometimes, but not as much. When the Shield dispersed, he kind of got more vocal, whatnot. Now you see him as the tribal chief, universal champ. He's feeling he's got the swag when he cuts promos. You can clearly see it from the promos he cuts now. All due respect to Roman Reigns, Finn, I respect you too, but when you just said, when Roman, I give you so much credit when you said I'm gonna smash you and send you packing back to NXT. That in itself was a good thing, a good thing to say, because it's another mentality of cutting promos. You have to, get under your opponent's skin.
Yes.
Just, get a reaction out of them.
Trash talking is missing a lot in WWE now, but they're bringing it back slowly. And Roman with trash talk has been great to hear recently.
Right. And I think, off topic, but when Edge came back to face Randy at the past Mania, not this one that's the past recently, but
the long one that was like an hour long. Yeah. It was an hour. I swear, I fell asleep during the match. Woke up, the match was not even halfway through. It wasn't. I promise you. I was like, this match is still on. I was ready to see the Firefly Funhouse match. I was like, this match, I'm gonna give me some popcorn and something to eat.
I think one of the things that it was a main event because Edge versus Randy, rated RKO, they were a tag team. They had tag team championship wins.
Oh, that was a great tag team. Great tag team.
For Beth Phoenix to come out, Edge's wife, for those who don't know, come out, call Randy out. It was something phenomenal. And then for Randy to do the same thing that, the Viper always does.
You missed the part where she smacked Orton.
where she slaps Randy, and then Randy, kind of, did what Randy does best. Out of the RKO out of nowhere.
He tried to stop himself. He tried to stop himself. He tried to hold it back, but the Viper had to let it loose.
Yeah, once you have that's the thing. Once you have like that kind of devastating move, and especially if you've been in the wrestling business for so long, that's another thing. You're messing with a man's wife. Again. Randy knew that.
Again.
It's perfect storytelling. It's perfect storytelling right there, because if you have someone that you've known for years, you were a tag team with them, you've worked with them, what kind of gets, the audience's reaction, and, to feed off of that.
Exactly. And they know each other so well, so the match was good. I watched it after air because I fell asleep. I wasn't lying about that. I did fall asleep during that match, but I watched it back after air, and it was a great match. It was brutal. It was a good match, but it was long. It was really long. And the chemistry between them is great, because they have that chemistry where they know, like, oh, we're gonna do this right here, this spot right here. So they had that chemistry, and it was a great match.
Right. Yeah, Mania was getting back to that Mania with Drew, and it was wrong. It was really long. When Drew won the title, another moment that did
markout moment.
Right, when it wasn't supposed to happen, Drew he went into the camera that faced him and said thank you to like all the fans watching at home. Another moment it wasn't supposed to happen, but he said himself he was excited, he was overjoyed, he had to think, he said it wasn't supposed to happen, but it happened, and I'm proud that it did, because when you don't have fans in the arena, you heard it was quiet. When you heard
his music, yeah,
you heard the commentary, going. It's like it gives off a different vibe. The Mania that just passed recently, one of my friends went there. Clearly, she was there. She went on vacation. Didn't tell me where she was going. I watched the past Mania. She's sitting literally at ringside. I call her phone, and she picks up the next second, and she's like, "Hey." And then I'm hearing, the crowd, going. Of course, Tampa Bay is going to be raining. It was, a rain. It was a little drizzling, not heavy rain. It
Yeah.
was drizzling. I said, "Hey, where are you?" She's like, "Oh, I'm at WrestleMania watching Mania." And I'm just yelling at her through the phone. And I'm like, "You could have told me that you were going." She's like, "Well, you were working that whole week. I didn't want, I'm like, I could have said, "Hey, I need to go do something in Florida for 2 days and I'll be back the next day." Um, I'm glad
Yeah.
she had a good time. She
Yeah.
saw Drew, which was phenomenal. That when he came out, his entrance was just awesome. And you could tell like he was glad to see, the fans back in the arena.
A lot of
And
people look like they got emotional during that. The entrances.
Right.
Yeah. But I feel like Drew is a top tier talent. He just I think he finally realized his potential after he left WWE and came back. But
Right.
now he came full circle. He became champion, and he said he still talks about how he's not done, yet. He's wanting to get that title back. So we'll
Right.
see what's happening for Drew.
Right. And then, for those who don't know, Drew has a book, Drew has a book now that came out, I have it. Phenomenal read. Halfway through it, he talks about the story of how he was the chosen one. For those who don't know, Vince brought him in.
Yep.
He was supposed to be the chosen one. Things happened. He got released. He went out of, he went to the indie scene, tore it up there, came to Impact, tore it up, won the title there. Came full circle. William Regal, said he has a signee on NXT. I remember this episode on NXT because I was screaming out. I got up my chair and screamed, and then I saw the classic old Chosen One entrance, Titantron for Drew. And when it said Drew, and I said, "No way, it's not." I said, "There's no way it's him." And it says McIntyre. You see him walking on the stage. I said, "Oh, no way." And
Yeah. That was a good moment.
You can't really relive that moment unless you watch it on tape, but you have to actually watch it live to see it. You can't, or watch it on TV. You can't relive that moment that it happened because
kind of like my markout moment for me, personally speaking, when AJ Styles, the phenomenal, of course, he debuted. I shouldn't say premiered. Debuted at the Royal Rumble 2016. And I remember watching that was for y'all that don't know, that was the one where the WWE Championship was on the line. So I'm thinking in my mind, first of all, it was rumored that he was going to be there. He kept on denying. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to be here. He kept saying the same spot where he's going to be. He wasn't going to be nowhere near the city that the pay-per-view was in.
Right.
So okay, all right, my expectations lowered. All right, sure. But he might be lying. So I'm going to keep an eye out. First two to come in, I think it was, wasn't it Rusev? And,
it was Rusev.
Yeah, it was Rusev and Roman. Roman had to enter number one. So it was Rusev and Roman, and then Rusev gets eliminated fast because it's Roman, I mean, and then Rusev.
Roman just
standing
stays
there
in.
waiting there. And then I hear music, and nobody, number three comes up, the sound, the buzzer hits, and then you hear the tambourine, and you hear the music's playing, and then you hear Doom, and you see AJ, and he's phenomenal.
And I'm like,
I am phenomenal. And then the crowd, I was in my room just yelling. I was losing it. My brother was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "AJ Styles in the WWE. That's what's wrong with me right now." So
funny thing that you mentioned it, because I actually went to that Royal Rumble that night. I went to see cousins, and then they said, "Hey, Royal Rumble's here. We can go." And I said, "Yeah, I already got a ticket. I was planning to come down anyway." And my friend's girlfriend was sitting next to me, and she's followed AJ since his, in the beginning of his career. So, and I followed him when he was an Impact from the early 2000s, which was, that's how he proved himself.
That's how he got.
And then when I saw I Am Phenomenal, and I'm like, wait, I said, wait, my friend's girlfriend, she immediately knew who it was and screamed. And then when she saw him walk out, she completely lost it. She threw her popcorn in the air and whatnot. I'm like, oh no. And then popcorn got on me and whatnot. She was freaking out. She's like, "It's AJ, it's AJ. He's here, he's here." I'm like, I know. Stop shaking me, please. But she was excited to see him come to WWE, and I was too. I mean,
Mr. TNA.
Right. You have a top talent guy like AJ Styles, coming in, tearing it up. Everyone knows who he is. For those who don't, watch some of his matches because he is truly who he says he is. He's phenomenal. To the point.
Hey, Jay Styles.
Like, go watch some of his matches in TNA, New Japan, especially New Japan, because he's had so many good rivalries in New Japan and in TNA.
Shinsuke.
Yeah, Shinsuke. Right. Like the match with Shinsuke, that was a good one. Then you have,
his matches with Kenny.
Exactly. You have, you can't recreate, that kind of feel when you see, a star that everyone knows around the world somehow.
From a different company, too. From a different company that he was there for so long that everybody thought he was going to retire there. And then he left and joined the company, WWE, the Worldwide International Company. Right.
And the craziest thing is that Ringside Collectibles, for those who don't know, it's still around. It's a wrestling figure website, the official one where you get all the, current updated, superstars. My first time ordering for them when I was 5, I had ordered Trish Stratus. Shout out to Trish Stratus, by the way. Still love what you do to this very day.
WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah, along with her, along with Lita, another phenomenal athlete.
Best rivalry ever.
Exactly. Glad to see they could tear it up one more time at the Evolution pay-per-view and a couple times more after that.
That was a great match.
And after that, when AJ came out, he said when they showed off his first ever Elite figure, I still have it. It's phenomenal still. He said my very first WWE action figure Elite, and it was to the T, like his Royal Rumble 2016 attire, his Royal Rumble attire when he first debuted, which was awesome. And it's it's something that you can't really, as a professional wrestler or starting up wrestler, professional wrestler, that's what you want. As a kid, you're like, I want my own action figure.
And, or being in a video game. That's all. That's the number. That's the top two.
Right. And for him to be, I remember when they first announced that AJ was going to be in the WWE game, the new, the current 2K game that came out. Which one was that?
I think it was 17.
When they said AJ Styles is a part of the roster in WWE 2K17, I was flipping out. I'm like, I get to play as AJ Styles.
I said pre-order. I did not even hesitate. It's like, you only gotta put $5 down. No, I'm putting the whole thing. I gotta make sure this is secure.
Right. And I've played as AJ Styles in the TNA game. For those who don't remember that old TNA game on PlayStation 2.
Oh, it was great. I don't care what nobody say. I love it. It had like 5 moves, but it was fun.
It was awesome. So, 2K17 rolls around. I go pick up my copy. The first person, once it had the update, of course, it had the update. The first person I played as was AJ Styles. You had to play as, AJ Styles.
Put up the P1.
Right. And then I actually wore an AJ Styles shirt when I was actually playing it. For those who don't know,
oh my gosh, I thought it was an AJ Styles mark, but dang. Starting to be more than one than I am.
When I watched, the entrance, I did the whole, the thing that AJ does when he comes out, as a fan of, right, yep, right, that, it's something that any true wrestling fan, there's a lot of them here, like a true hardcore wrestling fan knows,
hardcore wrestling fan.
They know they will do it. W2K20. That and it's that was it.
What is that up there? What did I get up there? What are we talking about? You said WWE 2K20. 20? Nah,
that
I ain't even gonna hear that.
I know. I'm glad. I'm glad that they put China in it. Well deserved, because
Yeah, but she gotta look like China to be in it.
Yeah, fair.
Those graphics look like I did them.
I
I don't
said,
have
"Oh
no
God, what is
animation
this?"
degrees. It looked like I
I
did
said,
that
"What is this?"
on a tablet, Samsung tablet, not even an iPad. Like I drew that with a
I said,
stylus
"What is this?"
and colored it with
Even
Crayola crayons.
I said, "What is this?" But yeah, for those who don't know, the GameStop that was in the mall that where I work still, they had Becky Lynch, Roman Reigns, the big banner in their thing, and I asked the guy, totally friends with them still. I said, "Hey, when you guys are done with this, can I have this big banner, like this big poster, four big panels of banner?" And they're like, "Yeah, dude, come on in." So the night WWE 2K20 comes out, I put the whole down payment on it because I'm like, you know what? I don't really care. I said this. I made a promise to myself. I said this will be the last 2K game that I get from WWE. Turns out that was a lie. Turns out that's a lie.
22 is coming out. It's gonna be
Right.
streamed live here. Well, not. Well, it might be here. It might be over there on Twitch, but we'll see. It might be on here and Twitch co-stream. 2K22 when it comes out in October, or is it September this year?
I think it's October.
Okay, so October.
But hey, we're both getting it, so I'll be on Twitch too. You'll probably see him, go a couple round matches with me, and
win a couple of matches. Yeah,
probably play as Drew McIntyre, Claymore. Just Claymore.
AJ Styles Phenomenal 4. I'm paying for a win. The usual.
Yeah, that whole thing. By the way, I do have a Twitch. Winter Rose 77. Go subscribe to that.
Your YouTube.
YouTube, I'm working on that one. Still working on that progress.
All right. You got Instagram, Twitter.
Yep. Yeah, I do. Yep. Instagram. Shawn Thomas too. That's pretty much where I keep up to date with everything. That's where you actually see my unrivaled figures of the Young Bucks, because I actually got those two, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Then I post some general daily things sometimes, music. There was one up there with, I think it was Mickey James' Hardcore Country album. Great singer too.
Yeah.
And a phenomenal athlete.
Sure. She has stuck around for a while.
Right.
It's very impressive.
For those who we're gonna, if it's cool with you, we're gonna go on the Impact, the last episode of Impact. Mickey James announcing Melina facing Deonna Purrazzo. Now we haven't seen Melina since she left WWE.
2000, it was 2000, I want to say 8 or 9. She left,
I think, and then for her to come back, still looking better as ever.
Yeah.
I was excited to see that match because you have someone like Deonna Purrazzo, always came from the indie scene. She was on NXT for a little bit. She got squashed, unfortunately. Sometimes
a lot of people have, but
Santana
it sucks. But right. I'm not surprised at this point. That's sad to say, but I'm really not.
Right. You have some great indie talent getting squashed by, but, Deonna Purrazzo, current Impact Women's Champion, Melina's going to face her at the next pay-per-view, which is awesome. Because Melina's been tearing it up on the other individual indie companies, which was awesome. I want to see
NWA.
Yeah. I want to see Melina in AEW someday. I can see her, going against Hikaru Shida. Speaking on the topic of Hikaru Shida, phenomenal AEW Women's Champion. It's just the whole thing that will cement the prestige of that title, because she's held it for that long. Yeah. Until she lost the title. Speaking of which, and AEW game, don't know when that's coming out, but I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
So follow AEW games, or is it at AEW games?
I think so.
I think it is too, but they're on Twitter and they're great. I did show you sneak peeks behind the scene footage, and they show you a little bit of gameplay that released recently with Darby Allin that looks great. It looks great. Man, it's more arcadey, which I think everybody wants to play. They're saying that it's new version of Here Comes the Pain, so hopefully it plays just like that. Right. It was great.
And then there's AEW GM on the mobile app, which I played myself. I love it. It's like a 2D thing, but you could tell it's like the old retro games like they wanted it to be.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is awesome.
stylized. Yeah.
It's absolutely free, so don't worry about saying, oh, do I have to pay to download it? No, it's free.
You gotta come out your pockets. Keep your pennies.
I promise you. And while we're on the topic of AEW, the Young Bucks book, like the Young Bucks book, I have it next to me. I finished it.
Question.
Yes.
Did you get the complete list of Jericho? I am going to buy that book. I was about to buy it the other week. I forgot. Like I bought some equipment for the podcast here, and I honestly forgot. It's only like 35, but it was worth it. All his matches documented and the detail. I really want to review that book on the channel and have everybody that has read it to join in the simultaneous podcast video chat, to where we can all discuss about his matches and all that. So I mean, that's something to look forward to here on the channel. But also, I need to read it. I need to get it. I'm gonna get it though. I'm gonna get it.
I'm reading into it now. Right now I'm rereading the Young Bucks book because it's just awesome. The story behind how they were born, that in itself, it was, for those who haven't read it, buy the book, read it.
This is sneak peek.
It's a good read. So you want a sneak peek?
Sneak peek.
All right.
Peek. Exclusive.
So, okay. We're doing E3 now.
World premiere.
There was a chapter. It was the very first 2 chapters. Matt talks about, Matt or Nick, I think it's Matt. I think he talks about how it was almost leading into a miscarriage. Oh. And thankfully that it didn't. It happened to him and his brother Nick. Thankfully, it did not happen, because the Young Bucks, we wouldn't have, the Bucks here today, tearing up the house at AEW and all over the world. And then they had, they talk about, they said, they give a description of their dad. For those who don't know what the Young Bucks dad looks like, there is, the episode of Dynamite where I believe I can't remember who. I think it was MJF and Wardlow. I don't remember. Attacked the Bucks. Matt and Nick's dad. So you get to see what their dad looked like. That, and it's perfectly. He reminds you of an old rock dad, the cool one. Reminds you of like Journey and Aerosmith type days.
Yeah,
but it still has it.
Talking about some Steven Tyler.
Right. But before you even get to the reading, it just has. Let's pull it up here. I got the signed edition, by the way, the signed edition from of the book. But even before you get to the reading, it shows, like, you first open the book, it shows all their iconic moves, so like shooting star press, 450, moonsault, the crotch top that they're known for. You have the indie taker.
Oh, the super kit party.
Right, you have super kick. You have more bang for your buck. You have the Meltzer driver. You have all of that even before you get to the reading. So it's phenomenal. But yeah, I read the list of Jericho. I'm probably a couple pages into it, because I really haven't had time, because I've been rereading the Young Bucks book, and I'm reading Drew McIntyre's book, and then the Bella Twins book. For those who don't know, Nikki and Brie did make a book. Still haven't finished that book yet.
Brie and Nikki.
Brie, yeah, the Bella Twins. They made a book that came out. I forgot what year it came out.
You mean Brie made the book? Nikki ain't made nothing. So yeah, I like that, Brie. Just write that down. That sounds good. I like that. Right.
Hall of Famers, Bella Twins. Glad
Yeah, congratulations to them. I mean, they deserved it. They redeemed their stuff. I mean, at first it was a little shaky with their wrestling skills, but they wanted to learn. Daniel Bryan teach them, his way of wrestling, helped them along the way, and I feel like Brie came a long way, and Nikki, because Nikki has some good matches too with the current women on the roster. So shout outs to both of them.
Right. But yeah, that the list of Jericho, love it so far. Awesome. You can definitely pick up the book.
Gotta get it.
Exactly. Because I don't have anyone to discuss it with right now.
So yeah, so I'm just gonna read this book and sit here because I can't talk to anybody about it. But so all right, I'm gonna leave you on this note. What how can I put this? What championship, as far as your opinion, this is all opinion based. What championship currently, the current wrestling landscape, do you think that holds the most prestige?
Oh. Oh man. There's a lot of them, really.
Which championship that you think holds the most prestige? It's only one. Only one. It's time to eliminate. It's like American Idol. Sorry, you didn't make it. It's a no for me. Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it.
I would say the Intercontinental Championship. I would say Intercontinental Championship.
That was surprising. But I mean, it's not surprising, but it is surprising because that holds a lot of prestige and it's been around for a long time. And Cody bringing it back to his original design when he was Intercontinental Champion, that was pretty cool. So I agree. That's a good one. But so I learned something new the other day. I say you learn something new every day. I learned that R-Truth was the first and only African American NWA champion, world champion.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
So congratulations. I'm gonna give a shout out to R-Truth for being the world champion and breaking barriers back when he wasn't with the company WWE back in the early 2000s. So I think, but that's not the title I think that holds the most prestige. I think the title that holds the most prestige is the World Heavyweight Championship. And to have Kofi Kingston win that and become the first African American full African American to be the world champion, that was great. And then for Bobby Lashley to be the second, that's cool too. So I'll give a shout out to all the wrestlers and then all the champions out there. Keep doing your thing and keep on entertaining us every night. And we're gonna keep making videos about you. Good though, good videos. We're not gonna be no dirt sheets, okay? Maybe. Maybe. just don't end up on them. All right. So Shawn, tell all the marks goodbye. Go ahead.
All right, guys. See you guys soon. Hopefully in the next podcast or next episode of the podcast. Hopefully sometime soon. Literally, for those who really want to experience the whole thing of like the Young Buck story, just buy their book. Just go out and buy their book. It tells you a lot. It tells you a lot about them. It's a good read. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
All right, Mark, thank you for joining us here on Malk Talk with my guest, Shawn. Y'all have a good day. And don't forget to come and mark out with us. See you soon.